Thank you very much for listening to this week's talk on the Sedra of Kisavo, the Sedra, the seventh Sedra that we read in the book of Devarim, and we will read it exactly 2 weeks before Rosh Hashanah. And as always, all of the Sedras that we're reading now are relevant and teaching us lessons on so many different levels. And we're reading about the events as Moshe Rabbeinu is giving his final address, as he's speaking to the children of Israel about to go into the land of Israel. And the verses describe very specific situations to that time period and circumstance. And yet we find that there are so many deep aspects of wisdom and psychology that we're able to glean from the words and from the actions that are described in these verses. And I think that we can really identify we're standing on the threshold of this particular Sedra, as we say, Kisova, when you will come into the land. We're standing on the threshold of past, present, and future. And we can picture the scene. Moshe Rabbeinu is looking longingly and lovingly at the land that he cannot enter. And he is going back to the origins, to the past, to the history of many hundreds and thousands of years before this point in time. And he's standing there at the moment and giving the people all of the information that they need to know before they enter the land. And this is something that's going to apply for all generations as well. And we look at the Sedra and we can see there are, at the beginning, two very specific declarations. One is the declaration that the farmer brings with the first fruits of his crop. The second is the declaration that he makes when he separates the tithes, which is known as vidui maseros, literally the confession of the tithes. And then I think that we can really see past, present, and future when we look carefully at the words of these two declarations. And the children of Israel are told to erect two stones with all of the mitzvahs written as they enter into the land of Israel. It's almost like the mezuzah for the land of Israel as you go into the doorway, as it were. This is also described in this week's Sedra. And towards the end of the Sedra, we have the brachos and the klolos, the blessings, and translated klolos as curses, but really consequences of failing to observe the mitzvahs, the words of the Torah. And I think that so many of the themes, as always, will link into each other and somehow support each other and support us to get the right ideas and give us the tools to really apply the wisdom. And the starting point should be looking at the words of the declaration that the farmer brings. And we might think, what's a farmer got to do with me? What have I got to do with farms? If I'm not living in the land of Israel, what is the connection? But as we see, the message is something that reverberates for all times. And the verse opens chapter 26, verse 2, V'lakachta mereshis kol pri hadama, and you will take from the first of all fruit of the ground, asher tovi ma'artzecha, that you will bring in from your land, asher Hashem Elokecha nosein loch, that Hashem your God is giving to you. And we see that we're talking about past, present, and future. We have mentioned that Hashem is giving this land to us. It's talking to us in the present tense as we read it today. This is a constant giving. V'samta batena, and you will put it in the basket. V'halachta el hamakom asher yivcha Hashem Elohecha, and you will go to the place that the Lord your God will choose, l'shaken shemo sham, to make his name dwell there. Uvasa el hakohen, and you will come to the priest asher yiyeh bayomim hahem, who will be in those days. V'amarta elav, and you will say to him. So this is the declaration. We would expect the farmer to say, thank you very much for this wonderful crop. Thank you that the sun shone and in the right time and at the right temperature, that the rains fell in the right time, in the right volume. and the soil was of a good quality. This perhaps, and we would certainly be ticking the gratitude boxes, we would be aware of all of the intricate and infinite processes that have to seamlessly happen in order for us to have this bountiful crop. But what does the farmer say? Fasten your seatbelts. V'amarta elav, you will say to him, Higadati hayom laHashem Elohecha. I declare to get today to Hashem your God, Ki vosi el haaretz asher nishba Hashem lavosenu loseis lanu, that I have come to the land that Hashem has sworn to our fathers to give to us. V'lokach hakohen hatena miyodecha. The Kohen shall take the basket from your hand. V'hinicho lifnei mizbach Hashem Elohecha, and you shall lay it before the altar of Hashem your God. Va'anisa, and you will call out, Va'amarta, and you will say, Lifnei Hashem Elokecha, Arami Oved Ovi, and you will call out and you will say before Hashem your God, an Aramaean would have destroyed my father. Now these words, Arami Oved Ovi, are completely ambiguous. There are at least 3 different possibilities of interpretation and translation, but we'll just go with the version that I'm reading out from the Saperstein Art Scroll Chumash. Vayered Mitzrayma, and he went to Egypt, Vayago Sham, and he sojourned there, Bimsei Ma'at, few in number, Vayehi Sham Lagoy Gadol Otsum Varov, and he was there as a great nation, mighty and numerous. Vayoreo Sonu HaMitzrim, and the Egyptians mistreated us and Vayanunu and afflicted us. Vayitnu aleinu avoda kosha, and they placed hard work upon us. Vanitzak el Hashem Elokei Abosenu, and we cried out to Hashem, the God of our fathers. Vayishma Hashem es kolenu, and Hashem heard our voice. Vayar es onyenu, and he saw our affliction. Ve'es amalenu, and our oppression. Ve'es lachtzenu, and our pressure. Vayetzienu Hashem in Mitzrayim b'yod chazaka uvizroa natuya. And Hashem took us out of Egypt with a strong hand and with an outstretched arm, uvamora godol, and with great awesomeness, uvaosos uvamosim, and with signs and wonders. Vayivienu el hamakom azeh, and he brought us to this land. Vayitein lonu es haaretz hazos, and he gave us this land. Eretz zovas chalav udvash, a land flowing with milk and honey. Va'ata, and now. Hine hevesi es reshis peri ha'adama. Behold, I have brought the first of the fruit of the ground, asher nosata li Hashem, that Hashem has given to me. V'hinachta lifnei Hashem Elokecha, and you shall wave it, you shall place it before Hashem and before Hashem your God. V'ishtacha fisa, and prostrate yourself lifnei Hashem Elokecha. V'samachta b'chol hatov asher nosan lecha Hashem Elokecha, and you will rejoice with all the goodness that Hashem has given to you, uleveisecha, and to your house, ata v'halevi v'hager asher b'kirbecha, and you, the Levite, and the proselyte, the convert, who is in your midst. So in this declaration, I think we can really see past, present, and future all mingling together as if they are parts of a unified whole. Because this farmer, very much in the present, who has not long ago worked so hard to achieve the result, to help towards the achievement of the result of the crops. And the Mishnah in Maseches Bikurim outlines the process in chapter 3, Mishnah 1, that the farmer used to go down and the Mishnah mentions actually three particular fruits. He mentions the grapes, the Mishnah mentions pomegranates, and the Mishnah mentions figs. Because although the verses that I read out seem to apply to all fruits, the definition was narrowed to refer to the 7 fruits of the land of Israel. But the Mishnah specifically points out these 3 of those 7 fruits that are emblematic of the land of Israel, and we read them in the Sedra of Akev. the 7 special types of produce that are associated with the land of Israel. And this where we are having the Mishnahs describing that just at the beginning of the ripening period, the farmer would go down and puts a reed or some kind of gumi, the Mishnah calls it, which is like some rubber marking on the fruit that ripened first of these particular 3 kinds of fruits. And then he would be able to identify when all of the fruit ripened, he would be able to identify the fruits that would constitute the bikurim, the first fruits that he would take to the Yerushalayim in the basket with this whole joyful procession, and the whole community would join in, and the oxen were garlanded and decorated, and the people were encouraged to join the procession. It was really a spectacle of really great joy and communal exuberation. And we have at this point this farmer who was very much grounded in the present, and we're told that the Hashem is giving us this land in the present tense. But this farmer is not confining himself to the present, because he's referring to his fathers. He's referring to Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. He is referring to Yetzias Mitzrayim, to the Exodus from Egypt. He is connecting to his past, because the past, our roots of our avos, of our forefathers, our roots of our experience of slavery in Egypt and our redemption from Egypt. This is a constant part of our identity, and our success, our flourishing in this promised land is dependent on us always being connected to those roots, always remembering at this point of plenty, at this point of harvest, at this point where it would be so easy to forget about the past, because it's all wonderful now, and I'm not hungry, and I'm not struggling, and I'm not suffering, and perhaps that might bring on a certain sleepy forgetfulness. But no, the declaration, by linking us to the past, is connecting the present moment with what's gone before. And it's also a way to establish continuity, so that every single farmer at any point in time, to this very point now, when we have the blessing of living in the land of Israel, we have the blessing of access to the land of Israel in a way that our fathers 100 years ago would just have dreamt that such a situation could exist. And so in this particular point, we have got the farmer who's reminding us, who is weaving together all of these 3 aspects of time that normally are different boxes, past, present, and future, but they are merging into one 3-ply cord, one strong and unseverable bond. And I mentioned that the Mishnah mentions 3 particular fruits of the 7 species, the Shevas Haminim. And these fruits, the pomegranate, the grapes, and the fig, are the fruits that are associated with the sin of the spies. And this is something that the Arizal, the Kabbalistic sage, mentions. He makes this connection from the words of the Mishnah. And he is saying that the spies, the Meraglim, they are in a way the emblem of failure to appreciate the gift of the land of Israel. They are the emblem, although whatever they said about the description, the questions that they were asked to investigate, and the factual descriptions that they gave when they came back with their report, these descriptions were factually correct. However, they gave their opinion about whether the local people were stronger and therefore unconquerable. They did not value the word of Hashem, the gift of Hashem, the promise of Hashem, that when Hashem is helping us, they lack that courage and faith to know that Hashem is stronger than the strongest person. And so it doesn't matter how giant the giants were, but they were not looking with that perspective. And so when the Mishnah is mentioning these three specific fruits that the farmer is earmarking to bring as the gift of the Bikurim, the first fruits, the farmer in this way is acting as a tikkun, as a remedy and a repair for the sin for the fault of the spies and their report and the reaction of the people to that report. And so again, this is a way of linking the past, the mistakes of the generation of the wilderness, and as the nation is preparing to go in, we are projecting into the future because we're talking about a time when the land will be settled, when the crops will have grown, and the farmer is making that declaration. And in this way, he is guaranteeing the future by connecting to the past and the present. And there is another exceptional, the declaration that follows, because I think that we can find in the first declaration, the declaration of the fruits, the first fruits, we have gratitude for the actual fruits, gratitude for the harvest, and gratitude for the land, the gift of the land of Israel. And then in the declaration of the tithes that follows, the farmer again makes this statement that is called a confession, but does not sound like a confession at all. It sounds like somebody saying, I've done everything perfect. We're used to understanding confession as admitting to something that I've done wrong. But the farmer is saying, this is in chapter 26, verse 14, Lo achalti ba'oni mimeno, I have not eaten of it in my intense mourning. Velo bi'arti mimeno batome, I did not consume it in a state of impurity. Velo nosati mimenu lemes, I have not given of it to fund burial shrouds for someone who's passed away. Shomati b'kol Hashem Elokai, I listened to the voice of Hashem my God. Osisi kachol asher tzivisoni, I have done according to everything that you have commanded me. So this is the least confession-like statement that you could possibly imagine. And the comment that Rashi makes on this pasuk, Osisi kachol asher tzivisoni, I have acted according to everything you have commanded me. This is the most beautiful message and lesson that we can receive for all times and be inspired by all times. Somachti, I have rejoiced, v'simachti, and I have brought joy to others with it. And so I think that we have the answer to the question, where now? Once I've arrived, once I've got this bountiful crop, then how do I maintain my levels of inspiration? How do I keep my performance of the commandments, my connection to Hashem, my memories and and the collective memories of our people? How do we keep that going? And so this is one of the ways that the joy that the farmer, when he is celebrating his success and he is giving the tithes to the Levite, to the orphan, to the widow, to the ger, to the proselyte, and he is rejoicing in gratitude. He's not just taking it for granted and saying, oh yeah, I was a brilliant farmer, I made sure that I got all the right seeds, and I was so clever, I invented drip irrigation, and I made sure that all my workers were doing all of their jobs at specific times of day. The acknowledgement of Hashem's hand, yes, the hard work of the farmer, the incredible intelligence of the farmer, the strategy, the planning, all of that is also to be celebrated. But the humility, the essential humility of understanding, and the joy that comes from that humility, and the understanding that we need to spread that joy. When I am successful as an individual, that is great. But in addition to enjoying the fruits of my labor, I need to spread that joy. I need to spread that benefit. And this is exactly the vital message that these two declarations are teaching us. And the blessings and the brachas and the klolos, the blessings and the of keeping all of the mitzvahs that we are promised towards the end of this sedra, and the curses, the consequences of failure to observe the mitzvahs. That there is a custom in some shuls to read the words of the klolos, of the curses, and there are a large number of pesukim. We have 14 pesukim of blessings, and we have approximately 52 pesukim of the consequences of failing to observe, and they are very frightening reading. And the tradition in some shuls is to read these very frightening consequences in a quiet voice. And I remember hearing that somebody, I believe it was the Chofetz Chaim, who said that if I was entering a minefield and somebody gave me the coordinates of exactly where the mines are, I would not want them to whisper those coordinates. I would need to hear those coordinates to know where those mines are in the loud, clear voice detail. And so that was calling into question, because although they are very painful, very difficult to hear, and we can certainly look at our history, look at some accounts of the Holocaust and see how verbatim these horrific curses have come to pass in times not much before the times that we are now. But it is so important that we all are aware of the terrible consequences, because this is the best way to avoid the mines. This is the best way to avoid the pitfalls. And we are really enjoined to be very clear and not to hush whisper that we're not able to discern these words very clearly and really take note and make sure that they don't occur. And just to conclude, bringing the themes of the appreciation of the land of Israel through the words and the actions of the farmers, realizing that it's applying to us at all times. Rabbi Riskin writes of a very moving episode that happened to him when he went to the shul. He was a boy of 12 years old, and he went to a different part of New York, to a shul where the Klausenberger Rebbe, who had survived the Holocaust after losing his wife and 11 children, and who had been murdered in the Holocaust. And he went to daven in this shul with the Klausenberger Rebbe. And as they were coming, it was the Sedra of Kisovo that we read now, and as they were reading through the Pesukim, the verses that describe the curses, the Baal Korah, the person who was reading the words of the Torah, said them, as was the custom, in a quiet voice. And from the Klausenberger Rebbe, from where he was standing, you could hear him say louder, hecha. And this was not the usual custom, but Rabbi Riskin writes, I said louder, he's quoting the Klausenberger Rebbe, read these verses out loud. We have nothing to fear. We've already experienced the curses. Let the Master of the universe hear them. Let him know that the curses have already befallen us. Let him know that it's time for him to send the blessings. And then the Torah, the Baal Koreh, the person who reads the Torah, finished the Torah reading. And the Klausenberger then said at the end of the service, quoted by Rabbi Riskin, my beloved brothers and sisters, pack up your belongings. We must make one more move, hopefully for the last time. God promises that the blessings will now come, and they have come, and they have to come after the curses, but they will not come from America. The blessings will only come from Israel. That's what the Tochacha says. That's what our Holy Torah promises. It's time to go home. And the Klausenberger Rebbe moved with his community to the Kiryat Sons neighborhood of Netanya, where he established his community, and the Lanyado Hospital that treats people from all around the area of all religions and all shades and of religion. And this is something that I think that we can certainly feel as we hear the words, all of the words of this week's Sedra, said in a loud, clear voice, giving us hope, giving us encouragement, but making us realistically aware of what and how we have to do everything. Thank you very much for listening and wishing you Shabbat Shalom.